we want to bring in a guest on a very different subject, turning now to a new weekly segment on the new economy, which tackles some of the big global challenges facing the globe's leaders. In this case, that rising death toll of Covid-19 in India and what can be done about it. With us, Andy Browne, Editorial Director for Bloomberg New Economy Forum. Andy, thank you for being with us. And that really is, the numbers from India are staggering, and you can only imagine as we see G7 leaders meeting that this will be on the agenda, certainly of different varieties. What do you think is the sort of most important job for the world when it comes to India right now?
The most important job for India, indeed for the emerging world, is to get vaccines, is to get therapies, is to take seriously the threat to the global economy that emerges from the fact that COVID-19 has arrived with full fury, a demonic fury. In the developing world. India is now the epicenter, but it's not just India. It's rampaging through all parts of the developing, emerging economies. I mean, even to the most remote island now in the South Pacific. I mean, if you think about the arc of this pandemic, it starts in China, obviously, which is an emerging economy, very quickly moves to Europe, and you get these hellish scenes out of Lombardy, then moves to the United States. New York, for a while, is the epicenter, and everybody is saying, you know, what happens when it gets to the developing world, right? And you have these apocalyptic projections about what's going to happen. The head of the World Food Organization is talking about famines of biblical proportions in sub-Saharan Africa, but it doesn't happen, and nobody quite understands why it doesn't happen, but it's happened now. New variants, far more contagious, far more deadly, and an emerging world that suffered from complacency and lack of preparedness, and above all, lack of support from rich countries.
What can be done about this, Andy? I mean, we're hearing a lot of big companies and countries offer a little help. Germany has flown some military transport to India with oxygen tanks and an oxygen machine. I know that yesterday we talked to Moderna, and they're going to donate 500 million doses to India, but only 32 million will go this year. And clearly there are a lot more people in need. So what needs to be done?
Well, there are easy wins. I mean, there are stockpiles of vaccines in the United States that could be shipped immediately to India and other emerging economies. The big debate right now, and India and South Africa, which of course have suffered horribly. I mean, in India obviously is now the global epicenter of this, have been arguing now passionately that these big drug companies need to give over patents temporarily and technologies to allow the manufacture of vaccines to be ramped up. I mean, you know, 50%, something like half the population of American adults are now vaccinated. You look at India, where you're getting 400,000 cases every day, 4,000 deaths by official count, all right? And the unofficial count is many times that number. 2% of the population of India has been vaccinated, and India is a place where most of the bulk of the world's vaccines are made. Then you look at countries like Nepal, right next door to India, where 1% of the population, you know, and this virus is really driving a wedge now in the global economy, dividing rich countries and poor countries, those countries that have strong healthcare systems, those countries that have weak ones, those countries that are minting billionaires, those countries where poverty, absolute poverty is returning. And the scars from this are going to be deep and long lasting, and they're going to add really substantially to global inequality.
All right, Andy, thanks very much for joining us. Andy Browne of Bloomberg's New Economy Forum. You can check out the New Economy Daily as well from Bloomberg Economics, focused on what's driving the global economy and what it means for policymakers, for businesses, and of course for investors. Sign up for the New Economy Daily newsletter at Bloomberg.com.